What is up, Patreon? It's Rich. All right, this is going to be a great video, and this is something that we've never done before. So settle in and let's talk about this. So what we're going to talk about today is picture making and what that basically entails for an artist. You know, you've seen with my examples of how much different art I look at, and you know, essentially what you end up doing is you find common things. You try to learn more about drawing. You try to learn more about picture making and storytelling and all this stuff. But it's not as calculated for me as it might seem. In fact, the way that I've really sort of expedited the process is really by breaking this stuff down for all of you. I don't tend to do that on my own in the same way that I do it for you all, which is for me it's more. I've described it before. Okay, so this was a pattern that I would see. We'll get into the video itself in a second, but there needs to be a little bit of a preamble and setup where I'm going with this. But what I found myself doing for many years was I would look through books about as fast as you could possibly flip through the pages. I rarely would stop on anything for very long, and I just kind of wanted to get the gist of things. It's almost like I wouldn't label myself as a person with attention deficit disorder, but it's something similar to that, where it's like I don't even really know what I was looking for, or what I wasn't really looking for anything. I wanted to see all the art, but I wanted to just like get an idea of what was out there, the different ways that things are set up, the different ways that things look, the different colors that people use, the different atmosphere that different pictures create. And I'm not so interested in dissecting the minutia of it, but I think what ends up happening is the quantity of work that I look at, in a way, it almost by default makes me that way, where it's like I'm so hyper aware of things because I've seen literally millions and millions of images. And it was interesting is I was watching an interview with a concept artist on Bobby Chu's channel, which I don't really watch that much. But I was just like trying to mix it up and find something different to listen to. And I'll try to remember the name of the artist. It was someone that I didn't know, and I really don't even know their work. But the way that he described himself sounded very, very similar to me. And it's a very rare thing. Like, I actually, this will sound crazy, is I don't really like drawing. He said that too. And Bobby was kind of shocked. Drawing for me is torture. It really is. It's like every step of the way is a struggle. Every step of the way is annoying. And the only way I can really get through drawings is if I do it quickly. But the irony is that I have hyper attention focus. I mean, if you've ever seen any of my black drawing pieces, they're very detailed and they take a long time. I would say the average is about 30 hours they take. So I have the level of patience to do it, but it's like excruciating to actually go through the process. And so at that point, you just have to have a professional level of a commitment to making pictures. And for me, I've done thousands and thousands of pages inking, but I'm not so emotionally invested in it, in the actual images themselves. So it's more of a mechanical sort of thing, but it's interesting. But anyway, so now let's get to picture making. So why I think I'm so sensitive to the way that drawings are, part of it is because I come from a heavy music background. Music was all I did for years. As a kid, I was quite good at art, but I didn't really care about art. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't going to be a career. It was just some sort of like random skill that I had that I could do decently well. And so music was my focus. But with music, what you end up doing is to get really good at songwriting, to get really good at crafting music. There's like depending on how deep you want to get into it, you're dealing with dynamics, you're dealing with contrast, you're dealing with storytelling in a very, very abstract way. It's not as tangible as a drawing where someone's mad, so the image feels mad. There's a level of intensity that you can have with music, but then also you want peaceful passages, the lyrics, and you start thinking about it. It's like, okay, so you have dynamics, you have spacing of the notes, you have rhythm, you have words. You can have words, and then also the way that you actually enunciate the words, and how you choose like the inflections on them, and it's exactly the same as drawing. And so when I look at a drawing, I'm coming at it not only from a huge cachet of looking at millions of images, but also my music background. And then it just becomes sort of a natural thing where I'm able to look at art, and I'm able to process it in a way that some people might not be able to. But the nice thing is that I think I can somewhat kind of explain it. So that's an advantage that we all have together, is that I can actually take these more abstract sort of concepts and make them really tangible and quite useful for people. So all right, now let's get into the video itself. So we're gonna look at Lone Wolf and Cub. I actually, this will sound weird. I'm not a huge fan of this series. I've never read it. I've tried to get into it many times. I think the art is good, but it doesn't really, like, I've never fully connected with it. It doesn't mean that I dislike it, to be clear. I'm just saying that it's not anything that I am really into. But he is a great storyteller, and I've seen enough of it to know that I think that this is a perfect book to do what I'm about to do. So we're going to look at a bunch of images, and what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to understand what exactly the picture is telling us. But beyond the obvious, he's got a sword and he's bloody and there's dead guys. What I'm going to talk about is all the cues that he's given you within the image, that if you even removed what this guy was doing and what this guy was, would you get a vibe of what's going on? So the first thing that I see with this picture is that there's a lot of intensity, there's a lot of detail, and there's a lot of like chaos and aggression. You've got these really like crazy lines going over his pants. They're really, like, I mean, it's insane. There's an insanity going on. There's this intensity with the rain coming down. He's got these shapes pointing at you, and you can even, the filter, let me see this for a second. I'm going to, I'll go medium. Or no, medium wouldn't work. Is it on? Oh, it's gonna be laggy, I think, because of I've got something working here. Let me see. I'm gonna try it one more time. Let's go medium. Filter gallery. All right. Oh, why this is taking so long? Oh, okay, here it goes. Oh, it's because I've got this like crazy, like got a crazy thing, I think. I don't know why charcoal's not showing up. Chrome. My point was I wanted to see if I could. I wonder. Oh, maybe it's because, is this a grayscale file? Image mode. No, it's RGB color. Anyway, I was going to try to make it more abstract. But anyway, yeah, I mean, there's a real sense of chaos in this piece. I think there's a level of intensity, and you have things pointing to him, towards him. You know, there's the sword coming at him, there's this shape, there's all this like static, it's zooming in here, and then he's open and he's clear, and the black is all kind of like coming up and encompassing him. Not to an extreme level, but I don't think he really works that way, but you can still feel that. And so when you're creating an intense image, what you may want to consider is adding more intensity, adding more chaos, adding more aggression, more sort of static, you know? So let's keep going and see what we see. I want to kind of go in order of the book. I mean, this is like more of a spot illustration. Let's see. I mean, it has a peaceful, soft quality. There's, you know, very nice, like, subtle patterns. He still sort of framed her with, like, you know, the shapes that he's using. There's this soft quality of the background. This is all pretty thing. You don't see a ton of intense lines. I mean, he's got a little bit of like straight lines here, but they're very kind of equally spaced. So it's more when I look at this piece, this is like, this is the moment. This is the whole moment. All this stuff is very, there's an equality to everything. This is equal to this. These lines are all equal to themselves. This is equal to this. This is equal to this. This is equal to this. And that equality makes the image as is. It doesn't really go beyond it. Even this stuff behind here, there's an equality to all of this stuff. I mean, where do you hear this in other videos about art? But I don't like, to be clear, I don't look at this image and think that. I don't break it apart like that for myself. It just is what it is. But like I said, the having the ability to explain that there's an equality to even the patterns on her thing, her kimono. So, you know, all that stuff will help you if you don't understand this stuff or don't see it. It would be interesting, and I want to put this up front too, because as I was breaking this down, I wanted to be very clear on this. All this information is very subjective. You may get something very different out of a picture, just as two people that would listen to a particular song will get something different out of it. But what I want to enable you to do is to have the ability to try to go beyond just what you're seeing, and then you know, being able to implement these ideas into your work. So this is, again, this is a very as is piece. Everything is very equally spaced. This is all very equally spaced. There's not really like a level of intensity or fear, but we do get a little sense of the unknown here. This is all pretty like clean cut, and you know, again, it's as is. The picture is what it is. It looks like there's snow on the ground. There's some trees. There's this temple or whatever, and then this happened at some point, and there's footsteps in the snow. But it's all very kind of mundane, and you know, probably happened at a period of time, and then da 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 da. We get to this, but again, here we've got a portal, a doorway, an open gate. This is the unknown. And just to be clear, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if these pages have been flipped or not, but I mean, he's pulling us this way. In Western comics, you might want to pull this way, but it's not a huge deal. It's still a very nicely laid out page. But yeah, and so to me, this starts to indicate that there's probably something coming here. It could be horrific, you know. We could come around this corner and walk into this area, and there could be literally thousands of dead bodies just around this bend. I don't think so, based on that there's only one set of footsteps, but this could have happened a long time ago, and maybe he's tracking someone. So anyway, but again, we're not just looking at literally what's drawn, though. Literally meaning that there's trees, there's snow, there's footsteps. It's just the objects, the level of shadow, the level of detail, the quality of the lines, and all that too. It's really, really going to embellish your work in fantastical ways. So have fun with this. And like I said, I thought that this was good art to do because of the fact that I'm not so emotionally invested in it. And like I said, in fact, I mean, it's something that I go back to probably once a year and see if I'm ready for it. And I've never really I've never been like, all right, it's Lone Wolf Cub time, Lone Wolf and Cub time for Rich. Maybe if I read them, I would like them better, but I don't see that happening. So I've got a lot to do. So this is interesting. So we enter this temple. This is a little confusing right here. I'm assuming this is part of the wall and there's like a tree here, but it's a little tough for me to read exactly what that is. But is it a down shot? That's really weird. It almost looks like a figure standing there, like a head with like a sword, but I think it's the end of a building or the interior of this wall, I think. But anyway, I feel like with these patterns, something is ramping up. There's a lot more contrast here. Something went on, I don't know if these are graves. They almost have a weapon-like quality to them. Like there's a level of intensity that's not organic anymore because of this. But it's obviously because of what he's drawn too. It's a combination of the two. But the level of contrast definitely is making me feel a little uneasy. Like these patterns, although that they're similar, a lot of these protruding edges and stuff like that make me kind of feel like danger. Like pointy shapes might feel more dangerous, whereas round shapes I've discussed generally will make you stop. If you've got a big circle, like on a piece, I could have done it with this. It would be more. If you hold down the shift key with this, it will make a perfect circle. But mine was too small. Shift. Wait. Oh. But yeah, circles will make your eye kind of stop and what the oh, I'm going I see what I'm doing. I was hitting deselect, not fill. But yeah, I mean, any kind of big circle like that will always make your eyes stop. I don't want that to look like it's a very bad tangent sitting there. So it's not supposed to be like a placement of things. My point is, if you're looking at a page and you've got a shape like this, your eye will definitely stop on it no matter what. It's just like the human eye cannot not want to look at that. So again, just that these more chaotic shapes and pointy things are making me feel a little uneasy with what's going on here. But, you know, it could just be a build-up for nothing. Okay, so now he pulls the camera. Oh, it's a 2-page spread. I get it. What's interesting is there's a level of intensity here that makes me uncomfortable, but it starts to smooth out here. And look, I'll be honest, these Japanese illustrators are really, really dead serious about the craft of storytelling in comics, to a point where it's almost militant and like a religion. So when someone like this author and artist is drawing and telling stories like this, these guys are dead serious, and they take all of these cues, you know, is a very important thing. So my guess is, although he was creating a level of intensity, for whatever reason, it seems to be calming down. We'll see if my intuition is right. But this is scary. This is starting to relax me a little bit. And almost the tree is indicating something a little bit peaceful, organic, life, you know, beyond the control of man. You think so too, Kitty? She's like, I've never heard you talk like this, Rich. Are you on drugs? What is this? This is called, oh, okay, we just saw that. So this is, I'm very, very curious what this next page is going to be. Oh, it's the little boy. So I was right. It kind of chilled out. But there was a little bit of scariness there. Did you see that? It was getting a little intense. You're like, Rich, you're a fucking genius. I know. No, I'm just kidding. I did have a friend call me an insane genius at Wildstorm. I took that as a huge compliment. It was Dustin Weaver. Dustin's good, man. Follow Dustin Weaver on Twitter. The guy is insane. He's criminally unknown, but he seems to have a very big following on Twitter, so I'm happy from that. But Dustin was an intern at Wildstorm and then ended up going on to do his own stuff. I think he generally works for Marvel, and he's also doing a creator-owned book, maybe through Image or maybe some other way. But anyway, so we've got the kid, and he's looks like throwing maybe like knives or darts at a piece of fruit on the tree. Oh, ice. Sorry, I didn't look at it. So again, right now we're looking at this more literally, but the cues that took us there, I think, were pretty accurate in my guessing of what was going on. I feel pretty content with the assessment that we made so far. So the little boy, and he's doing this, and you know, I'll be honest, as we get to the end of this page, I do feel like the other shoe is about to drop here. I don't know. Let me see if I can figure out what it is. So he's doing this. I'm trying to go beyond the literal, meaning that you know, he's using a weapon, he's training, that there would be aggression. I think him being pushed so far into the edge of this panel, I really feel like something's about to grab him. You know, like something's going to come up behind him, and it could be because he's so forced against this border that like it almost would have to. I mean, his head is literally, this isn't an accident that this guy did this. Like I said, this dude is a master storyteller. And I went I think about 27 issues into the series to give him a good chance to work it out. But like, this is not a coincidence that this. I know, Kitty. I'm telling him this is unusual, and in fact, it would normally be considered a bad tangent, meaning that you don't really want to bump something so literally against a panel border. But we'll see if there's a reason why on page 12. No, he pulls it out. He relaxes us. But you know, I do feel like he's trying to make this scary. I do feel that it was we almost thought something was going to happen, and then maybe not. Now you may disagree. You may look at that and go, "Oh, Rich, you're way off. This is supposed to be fun. Lighten up." Such a narcissistic analyzer. It's funny, like it reminds me of like a Carl Standa drawing. It's some hairdo he's got. All right, so anyway, and then we've got this, and again, trying to go beyond just the literal. These waggly lines definitely indicate like something's going on. You know, again, this is not a coincidence. He's creating a rhythm here and a bit of a vibration. It was funny as I did this in a video for someone recently. It was a lesson, and I'll explain what I mean really fast. And I'm gonna end this video in about 4 minutes because I've got a bunch of lessons to do. But I wanted to get a video up for you guys. So think of it like this: if you draw a line like this, it's like literally like a EKG, you know, that's a flat line. Not much is going on. Whatever it is staying consistent. If you start having a little bit of activity in it, to me that means something is ramping up. You just know it. And it's the same with this. It's like there's a reason that he has this pattern here. It's not just for the snow and then this. This is something is starting to go on. My opinion. We'll see. Kitty, what are you doing? Yeah, see, he's trying to get you sort of riled up. The knocking too, but like I said, I'm trying not to literally, you know, like if this kid had like a sword in his hand, it's like, you know, like, you know, there's smoke coming out of here. Like, we're not looking at that. We're trying to just look at the more abstract. So he starts cruising over, and again, this is, I mean, it almost feels like people looking at him, you know, like the souls of dead people or something like that. It's like, this is haunting to me. And he's all alone. He's surrounded by, it's getting darker, and then he's really surrounded by darkness. So I'm doing a review. Well, I'm doing a lesson for someone next, and I wanted to touch on this because he was asking me to be about ideas like this, and so I figured why not just share the information with everyone. And then anyway, and then this happens, and you know, he creates a sense of space here, and you know, this almost feels like fingers like dropping the snow on him. You know, these look like little hands to me, you know, like cartoony hands. You see what I'm saying? You can kind of see it. So little fun things like that. I mean, and Joe Madureira in Battle Chasers, he had his trees were literally look like monster hands almost coming out. So you can do little fun stuff like that. You probably don't want to make it super obvious unless that's kind of like your style is you know, you know, gear it to your work. All right, so we'll do one more page, then we're gonna end it. Oh, this is nice. See, I'm starting to like this guy's stuff more. Maybe all I needed to do was a review. What do we got? This is a little confusing with her in the window. You know, it's interesting. This almost feels like eyes to me. Like her watching him. It's an interesting thing, but that is the impression that I get, is it feels like eyes, you know, and it takes you down to this. But it is her watching him, so, you know, it's that might not be too far flung. This is obviously its own beat. And again, remember that probably the page really was like this, or might theoretically have needed to be read like this. I'm not 100% sure how this if this book was flipped or not. But anyway, he's looking this way, which in American comics probably would be a little unusual for this panel itself. But anyway, it is what it is. What am I getting from here? Well, this is interesting. So this is very peaceful to me. Again, the beats, all very, very calming, pretty calm. And then this is all a lot more intense. This is not an accident with this guy. I'm telling you, the blackness leads to this chaos and this menagerie of objects. And then he's still trying to be at peace with his mind and body. But that's the power of his meditation. And I assure you, when I look at comic books, I'm not thinking of any of this stuff, just to be clear. You're like, man, Rich, you've got a lot on your mind. I really don't. But, like I said, if we're going to break this stuff down, we need to break it down. So, all right, that should whet your appetite. Now go grab your favorite comic books and see if any of these knuckleheads do any of this stuff. I guarantee most probably don't. You could, what would you call it? Like you could impose concepts like this on some sort of, average comic book artist, and maybe they do some of it. A lot of times people think that they do it more than they do. I knew that this artist was the real deal, though. Like there's a reason that I picked this, and it was I felt like, although we could have done this with, I don't want to name names, but you know what I mean, just like someone that draws some Spider-Man book for Marvel or whatever. But I think that this probably has more symbolism and will get us more it gives us the concepts, and then you can put it into your art as much as you want. Again, you've got a sliding scale. You can go from 1 to 10 on this. Maybe you go, these are all cool ideas, Rich, but I don't really want to think that deep. Then you go 2.5. Then someone that's crazy like me, they go 13. They go beyond the scale. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day, and thank you all for being patrons, and hopefully this was a fun and unique video. All right, bye.